Most religions out there tend to say, our way is the only way. But then along comes Buddhism, and it does something so revolutionary, so unexpected, that it shook the ancient world, and honestly, it might be exactly what we need today. In fact, not long ago, a viewer left a comment. Matt, I love Buddhist ideas, but I don't want to give up my Christian faith. Well, what you're about to see is that not only is that totally okay, it's actually how Buddhism was designed to work. And this approach changed the entire way people think about spirituality. Now, if you caught our earlier video on why Buddhists don't believe in God, you already know Buddhism takes a very different path when it comes to spiritual belief. But what you might not realize is just how radical that path really was, and still is. So, picture this for a second. You're living in a time where pretty much every religion says, follow us or face divine punishment. Everyone's fighting over which one is the one true path. Then, this guy, the Buddha, shows up and says, hey, keep your gods. Just try these practices and see if they work. That approach, it was mind-blowing. Religious leaders at the time thought he was crazy. But his simple, non-confrontational way of teaching ended up transforming how people across Asia and eventually the whole world thought about religion. So what made it so wild? Well, while most other faiths built walls to keep people in and others out, Buddhism built bridges. Let's take ancient China, for example. When Buddhism spread there, Buddhist teachers didn't tell people to ditch their existing beliefs. Quite the opposite. They embraced them. They'd say things like, your beliefs about harmony with nature? That's great. Let us show you how meditation can deepen that experience. In Japan, they went a step further. They literally built temples where people could honor both Buddhist and Shinto traditions in the same building. Even today, you can visit those places and watch someone bow to the Shinto kami, ring a Buddhist bell, and nobody thinks twice about it. But here's what really blows my mind. This wasn't just some clever PR stunt to attract more followers. Buddha's approach tapped into something deeply true about human spirituality, something that modern scientists are only now beginning to understand. And by the time you finish this video, you'll see exactly how it worked and why it matters so much in our divided world today. Now, let's rewind the clock. Imagine ancient India. It was basically a spiritual laboratory. Dozens, maybe hundreds of different beliefs all competing for followers. You had the Vedic priests with their elaborate fire rituals. You had the Jains practicing extreme self-denial, and philosophers debating endlessly about the nature of the soul. This was the world the Buddha was born into, as a prince no less. And everywhere he looked, each tradition was claiming to be the only path to salvation. Some said you had to perform complex rituals to please the gods. Others said you had to punish your body to free your spirit. And all of them absolutely convinced they were right. But here's the key. The Buddha noticed something others didn't. Despite all those competing practices, people were still suffering. They were still searching. The priests weren't any happier after their rituals. The ascetics were miserable despite their extreme efforts. And regular folks, they were stuck in the middle, confused, scared, unsure which way to turn. Now think about how intense that must have been. You're living in a society where picking the wrong god could literally ruin your life or even your family's future for generations. Where changing your religion might get you kicked out of your community. Where spiritual leaders spent more time attacking other beliefs than actually helping people. But here's where things take an unexpected twist. Instead of jumping into that religious shouting match, instead of creating yet another exclusive path, Buddha did something completely different. There's a famous story about a group of Vedic priests who once came to confront the Buddha. They were ready to debate, to argue whose god was best, whose rituals were superior. They had memorized their texts, polished their arguments, ready to fight to the death for their beliefs. But what happened next totally disarmed them. Instead of attacking their views, instead of claiming superior knowledge, Buddha asked them a simple question. Has following your practices actually ended your suffering? Silence. The priest was stunned. No spiritual teacher had ever framed it like that, shifting the conversation from beliefs to results. And when the priests admitted that, no, they were still suffering, Buddha didn't mock them or say, see, you're wrong. Instead, he said something revolutionary. Keep your rituals if they help you, but let me show you some additional tools that might make them even more effective. It wasn't about tearing down someone else's faith. It was about offering tools, practices that anyone from any tradition could use to reduce suffering and grow spiritually. There's another famous example, the fire worshippers. These guys believed their elaborate fire rituals were the only path to salvation. They came expecting Buddha to reject their beliefs. But again, Buddha surprised them. He said, your sacred fire rituals? Great! But let me show you how to tend another kind of fire, your inner fire. He explained that anger is like a fire that burns us from within. Greed is like a fire that consumes us. And meditation? It teaches you how to master these inner flames.
The fire worshippers were blown away. No one had ever connected with their beliefs in that way, deepening rather than replacing them. It's like a martial arts master telling a student, hey, keep your style, but here's some moves that'll make it even stronger. Buddha wasn't offering dogma, he was offering tools. He wasn't trying to replace anyone's faith, he was helping them deepen it. And the result? Something unprecedented in religious history.
Now, what happened next, it changed the entire spiritual landscape of Asia, and honestly, the world. You see, unlike so many other religions, Buddhism spread without forcing anyone to convert. How? By taking this genius approach of enhancing local beliefs instead of fighting them. When Buddhism first reached China, something extraordinary happened. Instead of saying, Taoism and Confucianism are wrong, abandon them, Buddhist teachers said, you know your idea of the Tao, that great mysterious flow of nature and life? Let us show you how Buddhist meditation can help you experience it even more deeply. And that was revolutionary. Imagine being told you don't have to destroy your culture. You can actually strengthen it while learning something new. No wonder Buddhism spread like wildfire across China. And everywhere it traveled, Buddhism kept doing this, blending, enriching, adapting. In ancient Gandhara, which is now part of Pakistan and Afghanistan, when Buddhism met Greek culture, something beautiful happened. Inspired by Greek art, they created the world's first Buddha statues, modeled after the form of Apollo. In Tibet, Buddhism met ancient shamanic traditions, and instead of erasing them, it blended with them, giving birth to a unique, vibrant form of Tibetan Buddhism. Each new encounter didn't weaken Buddhism, it made it richer, deeper, more diverse. And if you want to see this magic in action today, go to Japan. Walk into many Japanese temples and you'll see something incredible. The same building houses both Buddhist altars and Shinto shrines. Two religions, side by side. No conflict, no drama, just harmony. You'll see people clap their hands to honor the Shinto kami, then turn, ring a Buddhist bell, and meditate, all under the same roof. This isn't some new modern trend, it's been happening for over 1,000 years. Think about how rare that is. In so many parts of the world, religious buildings are battlegrounds. But here, it's like making a spiritual smoothie, one that tastes better than its individual ingredients. And this open, adaptable spirit didn't stop in ancient times. Today, it's everywhere. In Silicon Valley, major tech companies use Buddhist-inspired mindfulness to improve work culture and boost focus. Hospitals across the world are using Buddhist meditation techniques to help patients manage pain and anxiety. Even the U.S. Marines have incorporated mindfulness practices drawn from Buddhism to help soldiers improve resilience and handle stress. But what really proves Buddha's genius
is how his ideas interact with other faiths even today. Christian contemplatives often discover that Buddhist mindfulness deepens their understanding of Jesus' teachings about being fully present. Muslim scholars find beautiful parallels between Buddhist compassion practices and Islamic ideas of mercy. Jewish meditation centers are weaving Buddhist techniques into their own ancient traditions, not replacing them, but enriching them. And it's not just individuals doing this, it goes all the way back to leaders. Take Emperor Aśoka of India, one of the most powerful rulers in history. After he embraced Buddhism, he did something totally unheard of at the time. He built temples and monuments for all religions within his empire, not just Buddhism. That was in the 3rd century BCE, while other parts of the world were still fighting brutal religious wars. Aśoka became history's first true champion of religious freedom, inspired by Buddhist teaching that all paths can lead to truth. And that leads us to a huge question. If this approach worked so well, why? What was the secret behind it? Why could Buddhism do what so many other religions struggled with? Opening doors instead of closing them, building bridges instead of walls. Well, it comes down to 3 brilliant insights that Buddha had. First, he saw that fighting over beliefs is like arguing about different paths up a mountain. What matters isn't which path you take. What matters is whether you're actually climbing, whether your path reduces suffering and brings more peace into your life. Second, Buddha understood something that modern psychology is only now catching up to. When you force people to choose between beliefs, they naturally resist. But when you offer them tools they can test for themselves, they grow. It's like being forced to eat vegetables you hate versus discovering a delicious recipe that makes you want more. And third, and this is the really brilliant part, Buddha taught that truth isn't something you believe, it's something you experience. It's like the difference between reading about honey and actually tasting it. You can debate honey all day, but once you taste it, there's nothing left to argue about. You know, you've experienced it. And these aren't just abstract ideas. They're solutions we need right now, in today's world.
Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Take Sarah, a Christian meditation teacher in Texas. She discovered that Buddhist mindfulness didn't conflict with her faith at all. In fact, it deepened her understanding of Jesus' teachings about being present, about living in the moment with grace and awareness. Or Mohammed, a Muslim student who found that Buddhist compassion practices helped him connect more deeply with Islamic values of mercy and kindness. And this can happen for anyone. The beauty of the Buddhist approach is that it's not about changing what you believe. It's about giving you tools to make whatever path you're already on more meaningful. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Let me give you 3 simple ways to start using this approach right now. First, focus on practices, not beliefs. Instead of getting caught in debates over whose God is right or which doctrine is correct, ask a more practical question. What helps reduce suffering? What actually brings peace? Second, look for common ground. Remember how the Buddha connected with the fire worshippers by teaching them about inner fire? You can do the same. Find shared values, shared goals, even across very different faiths. Third, validate through experience. Don't just accept or reject ideas because someone tells you to. Test them. Try them in your own life and see what happens. Truth is something you experience, not just something you read about. Now think about today's world, where religious tension is everywhere, where so many people are still caught in us versus them thinking. Buddha's approach offers us something precious. The idea that you don't have to tear down someone else's beliefs to strengthen your own. Sometimes the best way to deepen your own faith is to learn from others. What if more people did this? What if instead of arguing about who's right, we shared what works and built bridges instead of walls?
The wisdom that allowed Buddhism to spread peacefully across Asia could be exactly what our divided world needs today. So, let's wrap this up with something amazing. Remember that viewer comment from the start? The person who said, "I love Buddhist ideas, but I don't want to give up my Christian faith?" Now you know why Buddhism is probably the only major tradition that says, keep your faith, just try these tools. You've now seen how Buddha, 2,500 years ago, changed the game by focusing on practical solutions instead of forcing beliefs. You've seen how that approach allowed Buddhism to spread peacefully across Asia, and how even today, ancient temples stand as proof that different paths can coexist in harmony. And most importantly, you've seen that respecting different spiritual paths while walking your own isn't just possible, it's powerful. That's what made Buddhism so different back then, and that's what makes its message so valuable today. Here's a little challenge for you this week. Have a conversation with someone from a different faith, but instead of focusing on differences, ask them, what practices help you find peace or meaning? You might be surprised by what you discover, and who knows, you might even find a new tool to enrich your own path. If you found this perspective inspiring, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom that can change the way you see the world. And now, I want to hear from you. What surprised you most about Buddhism's approach to other religions? Have you ever blended practices from different traditions in your own life? If so, how did it work for you? Stay curious, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.